Ajamu, Baraka. I work with the U.S. Human Rights Network, and we welcome all of you here to Geneva, to this very, very important and I think historic event. The first review of the comprehensive record of the U.S. Human Rights record, that is. So part of that process is, of course, making sure that those of us who are from the U.S., those of us who are involved in struggle in the U.S. for social justice and human rights, those of us who are directly impacted by U.S. policy in the U.S., it's important that we are here, our physical presence and our voices, to make sure that there is a comprehensive perspective on the realities of the United States of America. So thank all of you who are in the trenches, doing the work, and taking time out of your busy schedules to be here and to be part of this historic event.
What do you mean these meetings don't look like this?
I think people know that basically normally the sufferers don't get a chance to get over here to Geneva. Normally we have a lot of the folks who are concerned about the issues, who speak on behalf of the sufferers, and they do a good job in many cases. But it's more important, we think, for people who are directly impacted by human rights violations, who have the concerns of the people directly and the experiences of the people directly, to also have a chance to have their voices heard also. So, you know, it's important that we're here, and I think that it's fantastic that we're here, and I think that we're going to make an impact.
The Universal Periodic Review is really a brand new mechanism. It's still in its first cycle. The states first started to get reviewed in 2008, and we're right now in the 9th session. So there's things that are still being worked out. It is brand new, but what we really wanted to make sure was, for the first time that the U.S. was reviewed, that it was historic and that civil society was included in the process from the beginning. So what we tried to do beginning in August last year was to begin to have teleconferences to tell anyone we know who's concerned about human rights that there is going to be this mechanism. Now, it sounds silly, that's all the way in November next year, over a year away, but we really want everyone to participate. And more important, we're going to try to take all the issues from the grassroots level and insert them into the international institutions. And our goal is to have, in a way, the recommendations that will then serve as a roadmap. So then actually the last year and a half really wasn't really the real work. The real work begins when we get these recommendations and these questions and take them back to the U.S., take them back to our communities, and then work on implementing them. Now, along this road so far, it's been quite amazing in the sense that the UPR process right now is really 3 documents. That's the basis of the conversation that will happen November 5th at 9 a.m. The first one is the civil society document. So that's all the work that you did. And I don't know if we have a great prop. Did we bring one of those books that's kind of monster?
It's not here. It's at the hotel.
It's a phenomenal. It's a good headrest. It's a good thing, you know. It's very heavy to carry all the time.
It's in the truck.
It's in the truck. And so what we did was able to communicate starting in August, but by the time in November, to say what are the main issues that people care about. From that, we came up with a list of 25, and 25 10-page reports were submitted working with the U.S. Human Rights Network, and they were all completed by April 18th. So that was the first phase. We turned in all those, and other groups also independently turned in reports as well. So it's not like the Human Rights Network is the only one. But what's really important is the UPR serves to unify people. Normally people come for CERD on racial discrimination or civil and political rights, but this one really brings everyone together because it also includes the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It includes anything the U.S. has ratified, which is only 3. That's why we like the UDHR in this one. Also, it looks at extraterritoriality and humanitarian law. So it allows all the issues, the broad range of violations that the U.S. has done in its borders and outside, to be raised. So on April 18th, the reports were prepared. They were sent in We had a meeting in Philadelphia. In a way, we thought the Liberty Bell was a great symbol. So we had an all-day conference at the National Constitution Center to try to let more people know what happened. And then throughout the summer, we had a couple activities. San Francisco, where the UN Charter was actually drafted, a workshop in D.C. A lot of people called into that one. And all we've been trying to do since then is consolidate our message. Because the next reports that were turned in was the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. They also looked at all the international instruments and everything the U.S. has done and the violations that have been noted, and they compiled a report as well. So the two reports that we could have had an impact on, I know some people have had because they worked with the previous treaty bodies, is with those first two reports. Those first two reports are only 10 pages, so they took over 250 pages and were able to simplify and make it as best as possible, and I think they did an okay job to be 10. But it's only as good as it can be. It's a hard task. I think you guys work really hard to do that. It's a difficult one. And then the other one is they look at what the U.S. has ratified and what they've done in various treaty bodies, like the Human Rights Committee and the Committee on Racial Discrimination and the Committee Against Torture, as well as some of the special rapporteurs that have made great visits to some of your communities. And they compile those recommendations. So right there, those are the two 10-page reports. In August, on August 23rd, the U.S. prepared its 20-page report. And then those three documents make the foundation of the discussion. From there, we brought a small delegation. We did a human rights education training with a local NGO. Afia was one of the participants then. And we were starting to work, and we met with High Commissioner for Human Rights Pillay at one of the regional mechanisms and started to meet with governments. In fact, we had our first side event in here in June, and it was a lot, it wasn't as full as it is now. And it definitely did look a little different. And those were governments who wanted to ask some questions and start seeing what the U.S. Human Rights Network was going to raise here. In September, we came back. We had around a dozen people, and it was kind of like speed dating with states. And that we tried to take your 10-page reports, and many people submitted one-page reports. Really simple. What is the issue? What's the questions you want posed to the U.S. that sometimes they don't answer back home? And most importantly, what recommendations do you want states to ask on your behalf? So we met with around 60 states. And in the Serpentine bar over there is where a lot of the lobbying happens. So if you're going to ask a state out again, Serpentine's a good place for that first date, just right downstairs. And I think we did a lot of work, but we didn't do everything. And that's why, of course, everybody came here. It's not just for the side events. The side events are important, but please go and meet with states. If you haven't done all the research, you're not sure who to talk to yet, talk to one of us. We might be able to point out who is interested. The great thing about networking here is everyone wants to work with, so Australia was excited about what we were doing. They made a list of issues in states and how they match up. So now we have another list besides one we created, and we can see where it's all at. So if there's an issue you have, we'll try to match you up with the state. We'll try to teach you how to do some of the lobbying, but that's in the next phase. And that's kind of just a brief overview. Friday will be the 3-hour review, and there's a lot to say about what will happen, but the good news, I hope we'll shape that outcome together. So I'll stop.